I'd like to call a regular meeting of the Hibbing Public Schools to order. It's ISD 701, Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025 at 8 a.m. Daylight Saving Time. I'd like to welcome everybody here. With that, we'll move to item 2, the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you wish. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. With that, we're going to move to item 3. It's public comment, and we're also going to move to the item B, the collaborative sports agreement. We'll take that right after or together, so people can get out of here and stay or whatever they want. With that, I'll turn it over to Superintendent Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
We have 5 individuals that signed up for public comment today. The first is Ms. Danielle Sauter, and she's speaking as a parent on collaborations, I believe.
I do go right here, right?
Yes, yes. And if you want to turn that mic up a little bit, I don't know if Ron wants it or not, just the sound thing. Yeah,
Is this
thank
good?
you. Yeah, perfect, thank you.
Okay, hello, my name is Danielle Randa Sauter. I'm a parent to 2 children that play one of the collaborated sports that Hibbing has an agreement with. One of those children will be going on to her 5th season, and one is starting her 1st season. I have to ask, why are we again at this point with the board and collaborating? It has been said that you're looking at the budget. Can you show myself and other parents in black and white how this would save the district money by stopping collaboration? I sign my kids up directly through Hibbing's AD's office. You then send a bill to the district my children go to in order to cover their share of the cost of coaching and busing. Their district didn't get any compensation for them. Instead, it's a debt to their district but a payment to Hibbing. On top of paying Hibbing and Hibbing collecting from their enrolled district, I heard that private schools have to pay an additional $50. So again, I ask if you can show how Hibbing would actually save money by stopping collaboration. If your theory is that, well, these kids will enroll in Hibbing to play the sport, have you asked those collaborative parents and families if they would consider that? Because if they chose to stay in their district, then you lose money. As a board, have you sat and asked yourselves what you're doing to the mental health of these teams that are collaborating? These kids aren't just a number on a bench. They are a part of a team and have created meaningful relationships. These are teammates that have gone through life experiences with a friend by their side. I know that the sport my children are in, there is a high chance without collaboration or of them not being able to sustain the sport. Also, there are multiple sports that may not be able to sustain. 2 are girls hockey and girls soccer. These players have not just created a love over the years for the sports they play, but they have created relationships. Also, when you ask these kids if they care where their friends go to school, the majority of them don't care because the bond they have is more important. Have you looked at state high school league rules? I have heard some board members say all collaboration agreements, and I have heard some of you say only the agreement with Chisholm. Can that be seen as discrimination? Voting to stop collaboration is potentially going to hurt girls soccer and girls hockey. What happened to schools giving opportunities to all kids? What happened to schools teaching our kids that life is about working well with everyone? As a voted-in school board member, are you listening to your community members and their children? Are you fully looking at the best interest of all children in your district and surrounding districts to create an environment that is open and welcoming? If a day would come to combine, wouldn't it be in the best interest of everyone to continue to collaborate and create better working relationships amongst districts and schools for the best interest of our kids? Lastly, as board members, I really hope you're considering what is best for the kids in our communities and not just listening to one person who may not have all the details. Thank you for your time, and I hope you consider what your voters and community members would want for your district and the kids in your district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Next we have Mr. Bob Raha, I think on a similar topic. Mr. Raha, collaboration.
Superintendent Aldrich, Chair Berklich, and members. I've been a school board member for 25 years. I've been through a bunch of these. There's always been a hurdle. Budgets, time, daytime starts, whatever it is, okay? But here's what I learned going to high school in Chisholm. Participation, whether you play all the time or not, you learn how to play a team sport. I was one of these guys who played basketball and never played much, but I learned how to play as a team, and you develop relationships with your teammates, your coaches, and things like that. So my main theme here is budgets are budgets. I've been through a ton of them. Participation and the savings that you think you might accumulate from cutting a collaborative program. In the end, what you end up probably doing is costing your district money. And what may end up happening, again, I'm just speculating because I'm kind of on the outside looking in, is what happens if Chisholm takes over the soccer program, just to be specific, and we've been approached to do so. What happens if we do, and then, geez, the Hibbing kids decide they want to come to Chisholm to go to school so they can play soccer? Now, I realize that this particular time frame does not allow for a collaboration disillusionment now. It does not. In a year, what happens? In a year, Chisholm is doing a bunch of things with their athletic complex. Is soccer involved? I would say it's reasonably positive that it would. The point I'm trying to make is you have participation, learning things, working with coaches and students to develop a team, which helps you as you move forward in life, and it helped me. So I would be remiss if I said I'm totally against dissolving any collaboration, period. And we have several, because it's the benefit of the students. I don't care if it's orchestra or soccer or hockey or whatever. Opportunities for students is what this is all about. And I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raha. Next we have Mr. Travis Baki.
Good morning. Mr. Chair, school board members, I am the athletic director in Chisholm, which I think all of you know that. And I am here to speak, as Bob and Danielle are, on the co-op agreements that we currently have with you guys. Currently we have soccer, golf, wrestling, we have robotics, just to name a few. And I'm not here to demean or to blame or anything. I'm just simply here to ask that you, when the decision comes, you really stop and think, is this the best opportunity that we're giving the kids? And James, please, and I, your AD, we are on the same page when it comes to these co-ops. We have had multiple conversations, and we know that in the future, in the short future, we're looking at expanding co-ops. We have opportunities that we believe there are to expand co-ops. And so my ask is very simple, and it's to please hit the pause button. Let's have a conversation. You know, get some, if it's board members that you want in the room, along with Mr. Please and I'd be more than happy to talk through co-ops. You know, I just got this collaboration survey after having conversations with Kim, and 84% of the people that took this survey from Hibbing support our co-ops. I'd say, you know, by ending that hurts 84% of your community and 70% from Chisholm. And that's probably a small number of people who took this survey, but the survey is the survey. And so, again, I understand the pressure, you know, but I just feel like it's very important if we hit the pause button here, let's have a conversation where we can go through all the X's and O's, and if at the end of the day, the decision is still to end the co-op, well, at least we've had a joint conversation, at least I've been involved, our school's been involved in that conversation, and at the end of the day, it is your decision to do that. But again, the future shows that we're gonna be looking to potentially expand the co-ops with you guys, and I would prefer to not have to try and go to a different school district to co-op in the sports that we currently co-op. I think it would be a black eye for both communities if we had to go down that road. So thank you for hearing us out today, we appreciate it. I just hope that we can hit the pause button today, not make any decisions, and have that conversation going forward about what our co-ops collaborations look like. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Mr. Steve Overstar. Thank you. Overstar?
Good morning. Am I allowed to ask questions? Or
The board
just
doesn't typically respond to.
Okay.
They're just listening to.
My first school board meeting, I don't know what the rules are, so thank you so much.
Sure.
I'm here, I'm gonna talk on, collaborations also. I've had the privilege of coaching, hockey in our community for 11, 12 years now, both on the girls and the boys side. I've coached, girls from Chisholm, Northwoods, Hibbing, all over. And this is important to me, it's important to these girls hockey players, we have 2 from here today. It would really, really be hard on our program if we didn't have the Chisholm folks here, the Northwoods folks here, and I don't know what the exact, language is that you're considering as far as are we ending it with Chisholm, Northwoods, everybody. But I would just ask that you consider if this is, something that you're going to do and a road you're gonna go down. I don't know all the financials, that's why you folks are here, and I appreciate all the work you put in, and I'm sure you're all just here for the, what's best for our schools and our community, but I would ask that you really consider the community part here. We need to be, right, good neighbors, right, that's what I think, as far as the community is concerned. Chisholm's our neighbor, right? These athletes, these students, they didn't do anything, they don't understand all the complexities behind all this. And again, if this is something that you're going to do and vote on in one way or another, I would just ask for maybe an amendment. The players that are here, let them stay, let them finish their time as whatever the high school sports are, 7 through 12. If we have a 7th grade Chisholm player here playing sports, say, well, in 5 years, you get to finish your time, we're not taking any more athletes, if that's what you're gonna do. I don't know, I'm not super familiar with what your language is here, but, the athletes that are here, I think it's important that we consider that, let them stay, let them finish. Because again, I can say specifically, our high school girls hockey program would lose 4 amazing athletes. They've put their time in, they've worked hard, they've worn our jerseys, right? Even without their Chisholm logos on them, they've come to our community, they've represented us extremely well. So I just ask that you consider that. Again, these are just kids, they just want to play sports. I get it, again, you have money decisions to make that are very difficult. Just keep that in mind, I would guess. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. And our last public speaker is Ms. Jen Gigliotti. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. Good morning, Superintendent, school board members, everyone here and everyone watching at home. My name is Jen Gigliotti. I am a proud citizen of Chisholm. I'm not born and raised in Chisholm, and I do think that's unique to this, in that I'm an import to the area, not from the Iron Range originally. I've been here now about 11 years. And so the entire Iron Range is a place that's very unique and very special and has a unique history. That being said, I live in Chisholm. We rooted in Chisholm. My kids, I have 3, and they go to schools in Chisholm. I also work in both cities, in Hibbing and in Chisholm, as a physical therapist, so I'm in the health field, and I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur who sees very, very deeply how important our local economy is and how important quality of life is in a town, and being able to pull up your sleeves and really care for your town. With that being said, no matter what, and I've been in a lot of meetings previously, even, let's see, it was how many years ago with the referendum over there, and a lot of discussions about the future and about whether it's economy, whether it's, making sure that we're keeping our identity, all of these things. And at the very core of any decision, I always think, okay, number one, what drives our economy? What drives quality of life measures? What drives the health of our community? It's making sure we're raising our children to have a chance to contribute to society, right? Education is so important, and that can be done in so many ways. And I think back to the 70s and the 80s. Rudy Purpich, okay, and what he came with his proclamation, his belief that we needed to empower our kids to choose and to take a stake in their education. And I think, what would Rudy Purpich, right now we're in a moment, and the Hibbing School District has a moment right now, where we're looking at some constraints within the economy, things that are out of our control. And we can approach the situation in so many different ways. And I just think if we think about this moment of how we're gonna navigate, how you all are gonna navigate the budget cuts and figuring this out, and in Chisholm, all the neighbors, all the schools have different problems. But I just think about the decision of today, okay, let's say we do cut this collaboration. What are the results of that going to be? And is that truly the right chess move in the big picture of what the vision could be for education up here on the Iron Range? So you think about that, making that chess move, and our kids are watching. So when we're trying to tell our kids on the playground, and they're not maybe seeing eye to eye, they have their own special interests in a certain area that they want, he stole my, whatever he stole, and it goes back to scarcity mentality, okay? Are we going to say, you know what, let's tell these two kids to not come together and talk and work it out? And I know we've been trying. I've learned more and more over the last few weeks how many collaborative meetings we've had, but we have to try really hard for our kids, and problem solving isn't easy. But I really believe in, deep down in my heart, the right answer is not cutting a tie to collaboration. It's actually the opposite. So if the long-term chess move or the goal is beyond collaboration, maybe a bigger C word, getting there is not cutting it today. It's not the solution. It is the opposite. We need to collaborate more. I mean, look at right here. What does Hibbing stand for? It's the anchor, and it's stronger together. I see it in our local economies. I mean, I'm over in Chisholm, but I love celebrating. I own a business, but when Lux first opened, I was over there touring it, and I met, I think it wasn't you, Mike, because it was before you were there, but going there and just saying, you know what, we're in the same, but this is best for the community, and celebrating each other, because if we don't all get together, and again, I can say this because I'm not from up here, if we don't all get together, we are all going down. But how do we go about it? What is our strategy going to be? The chess move to just do the easy thing right now, and maybe the easiest thing to just cut it, it's going to be harder later. So what do we teach our kids? Nope, we need to teach you to emotionally regulate, take a deep breath, let's problem solve. And that is going to be the hard meetings, and maybe it extends beyond a few members of school board, and some other community stakeholders, other leaders that can say, we need to work together. We can do this. Because our kids are going to have a much better chance if they leverage each other's strengths, and our schools can help each other. I see a bigger vision. I know how we can help each other. But it doesn't happen with cutting it. It's going to be a long game. But if that future vision is more collaboration or a further C word, it's not happening now. But it's got to start with more of a robust collaboration. And I do think we've got skills on both sides of the Mitchell. And I'd just be really excited to see how my kids could further enjoy what Hibbing has to offer and vice versa. I know we've started it, but cutting it off, I believe, Rudy Purpich will look it out and say, yeah, you guys gotta work together. Because he wanted to see the whole range come up. And so, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. With that, we'll move to item 4, administrative reports, directors. Hearing none. Administrator,
We have done today, Mr. Chair.
any committee reports? Hearing none, we'll move to item 5. Motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Moved by Director Polter. Excuse me, I got coughed up. And supported by Director Kim. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. With that, we'll move to item 6, motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion. Support.
Motion made by Christine, supported by Kim. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. With that, we'll move to item 7, administrative business. I'll turn that over to Superintendent.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
First item, item A is a motion to approve the resolution for donations.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Director Kim, supported by Director Sarah. Any discussion?
I would just like to thank our community for the amazing support in the, especially the programming, whether it's athletics or the young children's activities, it's greatly appreciated.
Mr. Chair, read them if I could, I'm sorry, I was trying to locate them. Our first donation is for $175 from David L. Hardy to support the Graphics 2 art class. We have $500 from Splash Express to support our athletic department. $1,191.25 from the Baseball Booster Club to support the purchase of uniforms. Uniforms. $183.48 from the Baseball Boosters to support the purchase of equipment. $607 from the Boys Hoop Club to support the purchase of youth mini goals. $50 from Hibbing Co-op Credit Union to support Safety Town. $50 from the Security State Bank to support Safety Town. $250 from Electric Power Door to support Safety Town. $100 from L&M Radiator to support Safety Town. $100 from Max Gray to support Safety Town. $100 from the Knights of Columbus for Safety Town. $200 from the Hibbing Taconite Company to support Safety Town. And $1,500 from the Hibbing Public Library to support College for Kids.
Thank you. All in favor say, oh, go ahead.
You can vote, and I'll go back.
Go ahead.
I just had a question. I'm sleeping on the draw here, but we accepted some resignations, and then we accepted a MOA to go from a 1.0 to a 0.6 position. So the resignation from Greta Kolstad, what does that impact on our budget?
So, yeah, thank you. So Greta has resigned. That was a position that we had planned for, that we were filling, so we will fill that position. That's a school readiness position at the early learning center.
Okay. And how about Lori Allison going from a 1.0 to a 0.6?
Yes,
Is that going to be a 0.4 savings, or?
No, this is also budgeted and planned for. This is something that Lori had done during the 24-25 school year, and it's something that we had hoped to continue. There could be some potential savings because Mrs. Allison was set to teach full-time English at the Lincoln, so we'll have to fill that position. It'd be one of our folks that are on ULA that would get those callbacks. So it could potentially be at a lower rate as a potential savings, but it was a budgeted item.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and now all in favor for donations, excuse me, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Item B is a motion to approve the fiscal year 2026 long-term facility maintenance revenue and expenditure plan as presented.
Moved by Director Chris, supported by Chair Berklich. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Item C is a motion to approve the post-secondary options program service agreement between Minnesota North College and ISD number 701 for the 25-26 school year.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Director Sarah, supported by Director Jeff. And this is done on an annual basis.
It is, yes, Mr. Chair.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Sharon, I'm gonna abstain because I work for Minnesota North College.
Let the minutes show abstention and against. Thank you. Motion carried.
Item D is a second reading of policy number 503, student attendance. Item E is a second reading of policy number 607, internet technology, acceptable use and safety policy. Item F is the second reading of policy 607.5, cell phones and other personal electronic communication devices. Item G is a second reading of policy number 802, disposition of obsolete equipment and material. And that is the end of our administrative business, Mr. Chair.
Just for our audience, this is a second reading. It starts off with the first reading, second reading, and then the final reading will be on the third reading of it. So we have up until that time to make any discussion or decisions. Go ahead.
Chair, I have a question on the student attendance policy, and maybe it's more of a comment question for our athletic director. The purpose of our attendance policy is not punitive, and it's intended to be positive, because as a district, academics first, we believe if students are in school, they're more likely to succeed. I'm also aware that we have about 25% of our juniors and seniors that enroll in PSEO and are not going to school in our building on a regular basis. Section 2, Part D, number 3, reads that a student may not participate in any activity or program if he or she has an unexcused absence from any class during the day. How do we monitor that for students who are not in our building, and are we holding our own students that are in our building under a finer microscope than we are others?
I was prepared for the collaborative stuff, but if this PSEO stuff comes up, it's the same thing with their grade checks. You're right, we don't get daily attendance reports from the college, and we don't get quarterly grade checks, we get semesters. So yeah, the policies for sure puts our in-house students under a finer microscope than the PSEO kids, and I'm not sure what kind of language we can put in there to fix that. We have to do PSEO, it's mandated, and I don't think we're gonna ever get an attendance report daily from them. So there's a blind spot there to be certain.
So I would propose that we, I think we're doing work in our sports area, we're looking at things that, maybe that's one opportunity is, what kind of measures can we put in place so we're not penalizing our own students and having it be a springboard for students to want to do other things?
And I will be just fully upfront, we were gonna do a reevaluation of a lot of our handbook policies, but with the overturn, I was ready for the spring to have some meetings, but then with the change in our admin team, I felt that would be wrong for me to do it without whoever the principal and assistant principal having input. So attendance policy was one of the areas we're gonna look at. I have a hard time, and you won't sell this to the teachers if we say, well, you can still be unexcused. You know, we might be able to tweak the, I had an instant, share, first day of hockey practice, and it was also hunting season. They shot a deer, couldn't find it, tracked it all night. Monday morning, dad finds it, 7:45 in the morning. The son drops the sister off at school, but has to go help the son, or help his dad take care of the deer, right? Responsible hunter. Well, he ended up being an hour, 2 hours late to school. Came as quick as he could. By our policy, can't practice. Day one of practice. Mom took care, mom's also let's just say she got ties to the medical community. She could have lied and said he was seeing a doctor. So did I feel good about having that conversation, trying to sit him out? And ultimately at 4:15, an hour 15 minutes into practice, I walked up to the Memorial Building and told him, go ahead and suit up. But lo and behold, there was another kid that was sitting out because he skipped school to go hunting. So I also got a phone call the next day about that. So are there avenues where we could make our policy a little more friendlier to our kids? Yep, but the unexcused is gonna be something like, if the parents aren't even checking in online to give an excuse reason, I don't think we're ever gonna fix that in the college stuff. I just
wonder if we could check with MSBA with the statewide That's an interesting conundrum. Excuse me.
And that's all I'm saying, if we're academics first, and we're saying that the mission of this policy is intended to be positive and not punitive, I don't think that we should, I just think we need to think about it, we're not gonna solve it here today, but it was just something that, as I was reading through the policy, it caused me to pause and ask the question. So I knew you would enjoy that challenge.
Always do.
Thanks,
I'll
Jules.
tell her not to read that close anymore.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Are you discussing this whole thing? Policy or is that next week?
So next week would be the final read of these policies that we talked, so today would be the opportunity to talk through it. And then again, you could, yes, we could discuss it at the next meeting, but it's really, that should be the final piece, so.
I went over it with fine tooth comb. I've done way too much about cell phone policies in schools the last couple of weeks. And I'm firmly convinced that we need to tighten this up in a very similar fashion as Grand Rapids has. And the term they're using is bell to bell. The cell phones will not be in the building from the time the first bell rings till the afternoon bell rings. Not between classes, not in study hall, not because your teacher says you can have 5 minutes at the end of the hour, and not at lunch. If you're in our building, cell phones are locked up in your locker, or your vehicle, or left at home. We're seeing the amount of bullying, harassment, and also cheating that takes place with cell phones and iPads, or I mean, sorry, not iPads, but Apple Watches. It's amazing. Kids are smart when it comes to this kind of stuff, and they can find a way to cheat in just about anything. I mean, the old days of writing something on your hand for a test are long gone. Everything's on watches and iPhones. And I think it behooves us to say, it's done. Other districts have done it, behaviors have dropped, academics have increased, socialization increases dramatically. You go out in a hallway between class changes, it's hundreds of kids in trances walking in. I bumped into it a dozen times in a hallway. It's like a little Frogger game on the Nintendo. You're just dodging people constantly. And they're not talking to each other. They're on that phone constantly. You walk by the cafeteria, those kids are on those phones nonstop. So, bell to bell, Rapids has done it, other districts are doing it, and more are going to have the bell to bell policy implemented by this fall. So.
Director Polcher, I think in our policy also, at the Lincoln Middle School, it's being proposed that it is bell to bell.
Right.
And it even goes on to define, which is not limited to instructional time, lunch periods, recess, school-sponsored programs, events, activities, or any other time during the designated school day. And so that was one thing, one question that I had, whether it's the high school policy or Lincoln Middle School, because now we have 7th graders in our middle school. I am very concerned and want every athlete to feel comfortable in a locker room. And I don't believe there's a need for athletes to be having cell phones in locker rooms. And I would even ask that James and the athletic department even look at what's going on our buses. And when we have the policy written for the Lincoln, where it talks about school-sponsored programs, events, or activities, I feel as though when you're traveling for the Blue Jackets, that's a school-sponsored activity, so how does that all fit together? Just so it's perfectly clear, and so we're putting our coaches also in a position to be successful, because if we don't communicate expectations, that's when things become a little unclear and we start going in different directions.
I know a lot of them, I know coaches and certain sports already don't allow it on the bus. The coach has them as soon as they get on the bus, and same with the locker room. So I can't say that that is across the board for all of our sports, James, but I do know that I'm aware of several of them that already do that.
Because the other thing, I think we may have had a conversation somewhere along the line, and James, you may know this better than I currently today, but when my daughter was in track, there were oftentimes that the track athletes were changing on the bus. And they didn't have locker rooms to go to, so that's why my concern is we just need to put safeguards in place and not put coaches in awkward situations. We need to set our expectations.
Nope, and I can speak, the locker room, that's a high school league mandate. There is no cell phone use in the locker room. That's been in place for, like, as long as I've been around that I can remember, and that's 17 years of coaching track. Bus trips, it probably depends on the sport, and as Director DeBarty mentioned, I know some sports, you know, you look at basketball, hockey, they probably do have a little bit more regiment. It's just by nature of their sport. You go to a track meet, there's no dress code, there's 60 kids, yeah, they have a cell phone on the bus usually. Now, I guess I've never thought about the changing on the bus aspect, that does occur still, I'm sure, because you go to a track meet and a lot of times they start during the school day, you're not allowed in the locker room, and if the track's off campus, like ours, not a lot of facilities have a locker facility, they come, ideally, we tell them, get dressed before you get on the bus, so. But yeah, no, Mrs. McDonald had already mentioned, I think at the end of the last board meeting, we do have some battery pack carrying cases where that's what we were doing probably pre-COVID. We were collecting phones and plugging them in during, the problem is that I can't use cross-country and track. I can't guarantee the kids will charge their phones. There's nowhere for me to plug their cases into. If you're in a sport that you use the facility, volleyball, basketball, hockey, swimming, yeah, we can plug it into the nearest outlet and the kids will sometimes get their phone for the return trip because again, I guess my only thought with this cell phone stuff is, you know, we all have cell phones as adults. We go everywhere with them. We're almost taking a step the wrong direction. We're not teaching kids to be good citizens or, you know, proper use at times. We're just taking it away. And for your 18-year-old senior, is that the best way forward? So I guess that would be the only thing I would ask to look at as well. But if that's the policy you want us to try to enforce with all sports, we can definitely try. Those cases probably aren't cheap, and I don't know how many we have in-house. So that's one.
And I don't want to be unreasonable, and I thought about that too, is, you know, kids do homework on buses, and I don't know, do they need their iPads? I just really care about making sure we're doing what we can. So there are students that feel uncomfortable, and students that get, good kids who get themselves in trouble by making a goofy decision. So that's, and then in here, on part B in some of these, it talks about all electronic communication devices shall be kept, but in the definition we say stored, so I think we should be consistent in our language, so it's, so we understand. And that,
Mr. Chair, just so it's clear, the way that the second read of the cell phone policy is written right now, it is not bell to bell. So it was, in the first read, it was kind of like a teacher's discretion, and they could have them, you know, between periods. We removed that, but there is still language that they can use it at lunch. And Mr. Gabarty is here. We talked through some of these things, so if you want to talk through that, we certainly can.
and I do have another question, the exceptions, right? In our current policy, the way it's written, I believe in like November, December, when we talked about it, the big hot topic at that time was there are teachers that are allowing students in class, at the end of class, to use cell phones. And what I'm concerned about is exception D exactly that same thing? Oh, I'm sorry, section 5, item D, exactly that same thing. When it says a student may use a personal electronic communication device during a time at which use would otherwise be prohibited when the student has been granted permission from a staff member to use the device. I mean, is that kind of the same thing written in with different words?
When I read that one, I immediately thought to Hemitate because our student representative, one of them was on there, and she said oftentimes she was using her cell phone to do the pictures or do whatnot. So I don't know the answer to your question, but I immediately went back to her comments about it when they were here, and we asked them their opinions on it. You know, because it's for a class,
Yeah,
but using her own device to do the work of the class.
and that makes sense.
I think in the, at least the conversation that Director, or Principal DeBarty and I had is that these would be one-off circumstances. It's not, you know, every Thursday, Friday at the end of the hour, you get 15 minutes to be on your phone. These are special, like your book, other situations. You might be an aide for a teacher that you do have some reason to be, I don't know what that would be, but just more one-off exceptions rather than a rule. Because again, I agree with Director Polcher. I think he shared last time, it doesn't make any sense that, you know, we are going through this process and going to implement this policy, and then teachers are allowing kids on phones, you know, at their discretion during class periods. I think that's something we have to control. But the lunch thing, that's a conversation that it is in here, that they have access to it at lunch. But I just want to make that clear for everybody. If it's a change that we're making, I'd make that change now and then bring that to you for the final read if that's where you want to go.
I think when it comes to lunch too, because right now 11th and 12th can meet, is that correct?
Yes.
So I mean, I think
Right.
they anyway are going to be leaving. And if they typically don't, they may now, if that's the only time that they can be on their phone. I also think if kids can't have, you know, that now that this is changing too, and those who are in contact with their parents or whatnot, it does give them that time of the day to check in or, you know, touch base on, pick up or whatnot. So I guess I'm okay with them still having it at lunch. That doesn't bother me.
I'm okay with them having it at lunch. I've had students that are waiting for job interviews, that need, you know, to make those calls for jobs. And so I'm okay with it. A lot of times I've seen students use SmartPass on their cell phones. I mean, we have them on our iPads, but I've seen students use it on their phones as a sub. So, because their iPads are dead, that's another thing. They're not always charged, so that's when they say, my iPad's dead, but I have it on my phone. Here's my pass.
So if we don't allow cell phones, okay, can students, I'm gonna use the word trick the system and do whatever they're doing on their cell phones, on their iPads? Or are their iPads configured, I mean, by reading the technology policy, to me, it looks like those things are locked down pretty well, but I thought I'd ask the question, because we just don't want to move all the cell phone traffic to the iPads and have it just a different device doing the same thing.
Well, there's still bullying going on. You're not going to solve the problem of bullying by taking big phones. You're just not. Because they happened on the iPad last year.
The iPads are, you know, there's not messaging, there's no calls, there's no FaceTime, but, you know, kids share Google Docs. I mean, there's lots of different ways that kids could get around rules, right? But I don't think that's not the focus here, right? And I agree with James. I think it is about teaching responsible use. It's not just about taking something away and saying you can't have it. It's more just about how do you use it, proper use of it. And that's what Principal DeBarty and I kind of talked about, is more of the focus. And even the lunch thing, I agree. I think just to completely remove the phones from students, I think we have, I think kids would struggle with that. I think, you know, there is some addiction. There is like, you do need to check it at some point, right? But then I think we have that conversation as we move forward. Maybe we limit that use at lunch in the following year, right? To try to get to more of a bell-to-bell that you're talking about. But just to do it, rip the Band-Aid off, I don't know that would be very successful.
So how often, so if we say, we talk about stored, we talk about not on their bodies, but in their lockers or whatever. And if we said bell to bell with the exception of lunchtime, how long do students have to be at their lockers at lunchtime versus in the gym if they stay here? I mean, obviously, if they leave the campus, we can't control that, but But if they're not on their bodies and they wanna check in with somebody, and they have to go to their locker to do it, right? Because we're saying not on your bodies, stored as in your lockers and whatever. And what does that look like logistically?
Well, what's gonna happen when you got a student that's gonna get their lunch, go to lunch, have their phone with them, forget about putting it back in their locker, and go into the classroom, now they're gonna get caught with their phone. And as far as the policy reach, what are gonna be the circumstances involved and how we're gonna handle that? I think we're nitpicking a subject that has to be addressed, so that we're very clear on what our phone policy is gonna be. I say, and I agree with Mr. Fulcher, that it should be bell to bell. Not that I love Grand Rapids, I've had competition against that school for years, but their policy, if you read it, the policy reads very well in how to address the phones in the school, how to address if you're caught with the phone, what's gonna happen. So instead of sitting here and trying to set a policy and then nitpick it down to where we're right back to where we started. So we need to decide if we're gonna follow through with a policy that we think should be. I don't think they should have it at lunch. For God's sake, if you need to get a hold of your parents, or your parents need to get a hold of you, I'm old school. I mean, I went to school, I rode a horse to school. But if my parents needed to get a hold of me, they called the school. That's what we have administration for. So, yes, it's an addiction. It's an addiction that needs to be addressed. Those kids coming up from the junior high up here next year, or this year, I'm sorry, they didn't have phones out there. So it's not like we're gonna have to, teach them not to have their phone. This is gonna be hard for the juniors and seniors to address. So that's how I feel.
Can I be a little unorthodox here? And I'm gonna sit and reflect on our Director Nyberg for a second. I appreciate all the people from Chisholm coming over. We talk about working together. I'm just curious, what is Chisholm's cell phone policy? I don't know, Mark's gonna.
Members of the board, thanks for giving me the opportunity, I guess. We've had our cell phone policy in effect for 1 year, and it is very similar to Grand Rapids. However, we do allow the students to use the phones during lunch period. The one thing that we run into is if you make an exception, every parent, every student has an exception. They'll find a way. It starts with the teachers. Some of the teachers can be the worst abusers. So it starts right there in the classroom. And you'll find every student that finds a way to get on their phone, they'll pretend like they're praying. And I am very serious about this. They've told me I'm praying. Well, I've got to take a step back when they tell me that, but then I see the phone. So my answer to your dilemma is do not make exceptions. They'll all say, you had the job interviews, it's up to that student to tell that person or that company that they're applying for, I cannot be contacted during the day. Parents say, I have to get a hold of my kids. Well, do it the old-fashioned way. It's called the secretary. Get a hold of them that way. So that's my input.
Thank you. And we have really nice magnets now with phone numbers on them. Yes.
Well, that's good discussion. Do we have to make a motion to change?
We can do that now or do it later, make a motion for the third reading to amend to include this.
So are we proposing for the third reading that this policy as presented, that there's another version of it to look at that's bell to bell?
Yeah, correct.
Is that what we're proposing?
Yeah.
So we have that couple more weeks to think about it. What we're gonna add stuff or delete stuff, we'll have to have a motion to amend that motion
Well,
if we're gonna do something.
And then what happens? Oh, and then what happens? Because that is significantly different than this. Does that new one require 3 readings then?
No, that would be the third reading of that policy.
I would ask that we address it at our next meeting, so that we can resolve it. So school's gonna start here pretty soon, we need to let the students and the staff know where we're at.
That needs to be done, so it gets in the student handbook.
So is it for students and staff, or is it just for students then?
Students and staff.
Students and staff.
And that the staff should be modeling the behavior, right? If staff has to take a call, right, they should excuse themselves, just, no different than if a student has to take a call in the office, so. So are we saying that you would like a similar language? Because I think Greenhaven, Washington, Lincoln, I think meets that definition, so you're saying basically just make the high school match our other buildings, so we're bell to bell.
District-wise.
Okay, so we'll bring that,
I'm a no.
Director Barty's saying no. Would you like me to bring a red line of that version and share that with you prior to the next meeting?
To see what the amendment will be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, aren't we gonna vote on if we're even in agreeing on
That-
doing the amendment?
Or can we see what a red line version would look like Grand Rapids policy? Bell to bell?
Bring
Well,
both
if we have,
versions.
if we have to, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and we address our policy by changing it to what it would be, that it would be from bell to bell, that no phone is allowed in the school by staff or students. So that's my motion.
Second.
And no except, and what are we gonna do with the exceptions?
That's written out in the agreement. If you look at Grand Rapids and our agreement, that's written out.
For medical and other situations, that's spelled out pretty well in the current policy.
I just want to interject. Darren Hofstad, high school principal of Grand Rapids, he says, by the way, kids at the high school get their phones between classes and at lunch. Don't want to misrepresent our policy. Bell to bell might be very tough, especially at the high school. It's going to be a huge power struggle. So that's from their high school principal, just to interject, not to.
Well, and I know that adults have to model behavior, and in fact, I don't know if anybody read this, but I was really surprised about the unacceptable use. And it talks about faculty and staff and use of technology, even originating from non-school computer resources. I mean, like, it's, I was gonna say, but
This motion is just to add this to the third reading. Then we'll-
Right, and if I have to, I'll amend my motion to what Mr. Leach just said. I don't want them in the school. So we're not following Grand Rapids specifically for what their program is over there, but my motion is to not allow the phones in the school from bell to bell.
Okay.
Or in the locker.
I remember my question, but if we do that for staff as well and faculty, are we gonna run into contractual issues?
Again, I don't think it needs to be policy with staff that it's bell to bell for staff. I mean, we treat the staff as adults. We have staff members that have to use their phone for work. I mean,
Yeah, dual authentication.
and we have, so again, I think it'd be about modeling the behavior. Again, it would not be acceptable if kids can't have their phones in class, that teachers got their phone out texting all day in class. That's something that Director Barty would have to address the staff in the beginning of the year, that they have to model that same behavior that teachers are expecting. And then we'd have to deal with that, again, with one-offs. If we had a staff member that wasn't following that policy, then we deal that through
I think
discipline.
we're looking at a lot of power struggles, and I think that's a little stressor. You're gonna still have teachers
So there's a motion and a second.
and students.
Can we ask Director Egan, so Chisholm allows it at lunch? Doesn't sound like they allow it at passing. Grand Rapids allows it,
We do allow it at passing.
In between bells and at lunch. That's our policy.
So same as Grand
Well, the motion is put it on, bell to bell, right?
Yes.
So that's the motion here, now we'll take a vote on it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll take a roll call vote on it. Director Polter,
Aye.
Director Egan,
Aye.
Director Sayre,
No,
Director Chris,
no.
Director Kim,
I don't know, I think I'd like it at lunch.
the
No,
chair,
no,
chair votes yes. Motion fails, tie.
Okay, now we've failed that, now what are we gonna do?
so can I make a motion that we do it bell to bell with the exception of lunchtime?
I'd second.
Not passing, lunchtime.
I think you're opening Pandora's box again. You're gonna allow the student to go to the locker, go have it at lunchtime. He's gonna either forget it in there, he's gonna get caught with it. It's just, now we're making exceptions to a policy that we need to stand by. I mean, this is, yeah, we all have cell phones, but my God, it's an addiction for kids and for even parents and adults that always have a cell phone. We're here to learn, not to play with your cell phone.
And I don't disagree with you, Mike, but if we don't let them at least look at it at lunchtime?
For what?
I don't know, but are we gonna then chase everybody off the campus, and then we're gonna have more kids running around and potentially not coming back?
Well, the motion fails, so we'll move on.
So, okay, but wait, we had a motion and a second for bell to bell with lunch opportunities. But they have to be stored in their lockers, so I don't know what
It
that
already
means.
failed.
Well, that was a different one. Or can't we, that was bell to bell with no exceptions.
Right. Yeah, so
That failed.
that won't be on the next,
But hers is different because she's saying they can have them at lunch where Mike's was not at lunch.
bring it up at the next meeting.
I think the only,
Right now, it failed.
we're getting close on time to get this approved. Again, the hope was to have it out there August 6th at the last meeting, let parents know, community know, so it's not a end of August surprise, right? So again, if the board would like, I could put together a red line of what Director Deans looks like, share it with you, get some input from you over the next week and a half.
You can make a motion at that time to amend it. A motion.
Because I think it's gotta be more stringent than this.
Well, get the red line from, and we'll include it then. Go ahead with the next item.
Director Gabarty and I will work on that, and I'll share some drafts with you soon.
Principals have already not directed.
I'm sorry.
Just to be clear,
That's
it's
like
not
the
me.
third time, like it's a bad habit, I apologize.
What did you say?
Principal Director Gabarty, I gave Derek a promotion, I think.
Well, I'm sure it was well deserved.
And that's right, that Grand Rapids does, here's James, have the exceptions?
Yeah, so Darren Hofstad, the high school principal, he just said he didn't, oh my goodness. Yeah, Darren Hofstad, I've known him for many years now, for coaching track. He said he just wants us to be represented appropriately. It is not bell to bell in that sense, it's passing time and lunch, because he said middle school that would work, high school you're gonna find yourself with just constant power struggles. So just food for thought, again, we'll do whatever you guys tell us to, but that's just from Darren, and I figured since it was timely, sorry Mike, we better represent them appropriately.
But just to protect what I said, if you read their policy, that's not in there.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, no,
they're making an exception that it's just a verbal agreement with the students.
They probably don't have a Kim McLaughlin going over every word.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
You raised that for many years.
but I thought I printed it out, and I was seeing the same thing, so then I didn't know where I got it from, so.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Last update is just, for me, is just on referendums. I just wanted to let
Did you get the last obsolete equipment on?
yes, that was our last policy, second read. The referendum update, just want to let you know that the resolution that we approved at the last meeting had an error with starting the voting. It was from noon until 8 p.m. So we made that correction, worked with the team that helped write that resolution, and voting will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on November 4th, not noon to 8 p.m. There will be early voting also. Alex is working on that through his office, and information will be coming out about that soon. Other than that, that's all I have on the referendum, Mr. Chair.
Can we back up on the disposition policy?
Yes.
This was really confusing to me.
Okay.
It appears as though like the purchasing policy and the disposition policy are commingled in here. It really looked like they were both commingled.
So this was, we didn't have an active and updated policy on how we would get rid of this obsolete equipment. So this again is MSB headline. It does meet the requirements, yes, because it shows the dollar amounts, which our old policy didn't, but that was always something that we were aware of, a separate sheet Tyler and Alex had worked on as far as bidding.
For purchasing.
For purchasing it,
Right.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, so I guess I don't know what your question is exactly, I'm sorry.
So the policy is disposition of obsolete equipment.
Yep,
That's the policy.
yep.
But when you read it, then it starts talking about, there's a little bit about authorization and getting the superintendent's permission, but then it talks about acquiring equipment, I think, by sealed bids, published in newspapers, and then at different thresholds, and then contracts,
I think it does lump the purchase and the.
disposal.
Yes,
Yes, and that was confusing. And then we get to this subsection, and it's electronic sale of surplus supplies. Like,
do bids and things like that.
yeah,
Yep.
so it mixes the two of them together.
Yep. Again, that was their, yeah, that wasn't my doing, that was MSBA, so there must be a reason why they lumped this together, but.
Mr. Eldridge,
Yes,
do you
ma'am.
have any update on the tax calculator?
Alex was on vacation this week,
Okay,
so I don't, I know we had messaged before, I know he was working with them on it.
okay.
I think he was waiting on them to do calculations to put into the calculator.
Oh, okay.
You know, actual property values and the tax impact, so I think he needs that number, and he didn't have it.
So you'll let us know once that is up, because as of right now, it is
I'll probably
not.
send another message and say, hey, by the way, our calculator's up and working, then probably
Okay,
a district-wide message.
to the community,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep.
And I received a request last evening to attend the Alpha Delta Kappa meeting in September to speak about the referendum. So that's something we can do, or more than one board member, but, yeah, so people out there, groups out there, Alpha Delta Kappa, I think, is an organization of retired, primarily retired educators in our community. So they'd like us to share information about them up there.
So whatever that date is, please include me too. Yep, thank you.
It's at the high school.
Item B, are we gonna have committees meet? Collaborative sports.
Yeah, that was, again, we had this on our agenda, ongoing item, we were waiting for a full board, we have a full board today, so however you'd like to proceed, Mr. Chair.
We'll get together with
Oh,
Mr. Pagis and Mr. Vanti for starts, and then board members, we can have two. If somebody wants to. Well, they'll let those two talk first and then present us with something.
Chair, I think, can we maybe have a discussion as a board first, us, now that we're here?
No, it
Because-
wasn't on the agenda.
Yeah, collaborative sports agreement, it's on this one.
That's what you want to put.
Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming. And you know what? I was taking notes, and I completely agree with so many things. When Danielle said, it's all about relationships, bonding, and having those personal relationships to be there for one another, what's in the best interest of kids, opportunities for students was Director Raha, I think. Travis brought up the survey. I want to point out, this was not a sports collaboration survey. This was a broad survey. And so while he said that the percentage was large that wanted to collaborate for sports. The percentage was even larger for academics. So if we look at the city results and we peel back Floodwood, Nashwauk, and everybody else, the percent of Chisholm respondents at this time, 69% said, yep, we want to work together. Hibbing, 84%. So, do I agree with everything that was said? Absolutely. And I think I've talked to a lot of people that are here, and you know what? Those same opportunities, I believe, academics first, right? And 2 years ago when I sat here, and okay, full transparency, I'm a Blue Streak at heart, right? That's where I grew up. I have learned we can coexist in the same house. We can respect and appreciate the pride, the passion, the purpose, the mission. But just like we're giving our students opportunities to play girls hockey, to play soccer, together or separately, each of us would have a difficult time. Together we can do more. But quite honestly, I'm sitting here saying academics, right? Like, and I think I'm right when I say this, correct me if I'm wrong. You know what? And I'm going to use this as an example. In today's world, as simple as facts, right? There's a lot of kids that need those skills. I don't think Chisholm's offering facts alone. Hibbing is. So all I'm saying is, I think when we go forward, it's got to be far beyond sports, because I said I feel like we've been waltzing around. 1 step forward, 3 steps back. 1 step forward, we have great collaboration meetings. And you know what? I'm going to just say the word consolidation. Athletic Director Bakis and I were talking. What does that mean? What does that word mean? No, I want to say this when Chisholm's in the room. And
Well,
you
we
know,
got other stuff that we won't be in the room when they're talking.
but you know what? It's got to be beyond athletics, because we need to be fiscally responsible to our
Well, we got to
community.
start somewhere. See how that works for starters.
We've done that.
We've done everything. When
And
you're
so-
talking about it, it's just, that's why we're back here right now.
But I think we might end up with a vote in a different direction.
Well, so be it.
But I don't think that's the long-term best interest. So can't we look at giving notice to intent to dissolve our agreements a year, so we start the clock, unless there's a firm commitment to start down this checklist for the bigger C word, to give kids academic opportunities, because Chisholm could go and join the St. Louis County Schools, but they're still going to be sitting in their school and not providing any more opportunities for
Well,
kids.
let's see what they're going to bring back to us, so we have something to discuss on that.
But Chair, the athletic directors aren't going to look at academic opportunities.
Well, whatever they bring to us, then we can question it. Include academics on there. How's that? Or Mr. Baki and Mr. Please.
Yeah, I mean, but technically, we have to give, no matter what we do, we have to give a year,
Right.
all right?
So this is a
Why
start.
not open the door, as Kim said? If we look at eliminating our collaboration with Chisholm or other schools, why not look at a plan, 2 or 3 year plan? And I know everybody hates this word, but consolidate, let's be honest with one another. How many schools on this range are going to survive if we don't consolidate with one another and start working with one another to make the educational value for our kids better? So, we don't have, this is something we don't have to get rid of right now.
Right.
We can decide on that, we have a year by the state, right, to give them notice that we're going to do this. But since we have a lot of representation here from Chisholm, why can't we sit down and figure out if there's a plan that we can be acceptable for both schools to consolidation so that we can survive? We had a $2 million deficit this year we had to overcome. And by letting teachers go, to me, it was not the answer, but it's the only answer we had. So why not work together and make it a system that is both beneficial for our staff and for our students? That's what I.
And you know what else? There needs to be, I think, it needs to be said, and if you look at Minnesota statute 123A.48. There is misinformation floating around, okay? And I've talked to a lot of people in Chisholm. And I may not say this right, but it's kind of a prenuptial agreement, right? That's how I'm gonna use the words. We have our OPEB liability, Chisholm has their school liability. The state has defined these prenuptial agreements that we can enter into, I think. So your community is keeping your debt, our community is keeping our pre-existing debt, but then we're moving forward together. So that's all I'm saying. I don't want to cut off my nose to spite my face, but if we don't take a measure here and define our own future, I'm afraid it's going to be defined for us, and it's not going to be pretty. And I want to give kids every opportunity we can.
That's what we're starting on now, so.
James, I have a couple questions for you. So when I look at this collaborative sheet that we received.
Yep.
And some of our speakers mentioned it, so I guess I want to hear it from you. If we do dissolve our collaboratives, how many of these sports on this list will we not be able to support with just our Hibbing athletes?
Well, I think at the varsity level, I think ultimately we would be okay, but I know we can look at girls soccer and girls hockey, and if you take girls soccer, there's at least 5 Chisholm kids out of 33. You can't field the full JV, they'd be struggling right there. And that number is based on last year's registrations. And then girls hockey, we have 3 Chisholm kids, 2 Northwoods kids, 27 total registrants. You take 5 off of a hockey team, you know hockey better than I do. 5 of that 20, I mean, that's not a JV roster, you don't have it. So that's where my coaches have expressed, especially in those 2 areas, like we need the co-ops to survive.
So let's say that happens, we no longer have enough girl athletes to fill those rosters. How then does that affect Title IX if girls sports are cut, or it doesn't because we still have a varsity team, so it doesn't?
We offer, as long as the opportunity is offered, we can't force. So there's others, I can't think. There's schools that throughout the season will call me and, hey, we don't have enough for a JV, it's gonna be varsity only. It just happened this winter, I can't think of which. Once, I'm not saying it's common, it's usually smaller schools than us too, but it is something that happens, more so with the female sports, but it does happen. So, and I guess that's the question, my concern is, we're gonna take a hit in some of these areas, what are we looking at? And I think that's why everyone's here, we want some just to clear the air, make it out there, be transparent in what's going on with where we're at.
And I think too on this report here, it shows our longest, collaborative started back in 2006. So we've had a collaboration with Chisholm for many, many years. And then after that, I think the next one showing on here is 2013. So these collaboratives aren't anything new. And to me, I think it is, to me, it's a win-win. I think looking at it any other way, I think we become selfish. And I think when we're asking for a referendum and we're asking our community for money, this isn't a great time to bring that up. And I also think, when you talk about combining, 2 years, 3 years down the road, our board will look different at that time, Chisholm's board will look different at that time. Their admin team, our admin team could be different at that time. It's hard to know what that future looks like and what the financial situations of every district around us is going to be. We can speculate and guess, but I guess I'm not for dissolving any of these at all.
Just to touch on the dates, that is just from the files I can find in our treasure trove down in the AD office. Some of these might predate what is on the paper. The high school league only went back to I think, 5 years ago. So then I had to dig, and it's kind of messy down there in those files. Some of it might be down in the basement, so that's where that, so these relationships probably go back even farther.
You know, I'm just gonna say my opinion in reading some of the materials online about consolidations. Putting together a successful consolidation plan takes time, 3 to 5 years. And right now where we are, again, 2 years ago I felt collaboration, but the reality is with the external pressures on both districts, right? Like federal funding is an issue. State mandates are an issue. Locally, our economy, there are some major employers that are seriously in question. So with all 3 of those external forces, I just feel as though if we don't start building our future now, even though boards may turn over, I completely agree. I feel like we collectively, Hibbing and Chisholm, need to build our future together so neither of us get in a situation where the state of Minnesota MDE is coming in and telling us what consolidation looks like, because that would hurt both districts. I would rather define our own consolidation and what that looks like than ever get ourselves in a risk. And the other thing, my opinion, when we made 32 or 34 cuts, it hurt. I believe in our school district. I think Chisholm did not make cuts, but I think there are positions they did not refill. So kind of the same thing in a less visible way, right?
Okay, I
And
think
if
we're
we
getting
do
off
that-
track here. We're not talking consolidation, this is right now for the sports agreements. And with this weather coming in, I think we can discuss that at a different time.
Well, then we're gonna have to give a 1-year notice. I mean, if that,
Well, yeah,
then we're gonna have to
we're gonna
take
have
a
some more
vote.
meetings before 1 year is up.
But John, April 1st is, or April 11th or 12th is when fall sports start.
They're gonna give us something to start with, and we can go from there. And then we can have special meetings if necessary.
Mr. Cleese, how many of these sports, if we include these individuals from the other schools, if they play for Hibbing, are we gonna get pushed besides football into a different?
So I didn't do that deep dive, but I would probably guess none. I hate to be wrong, but I don't think, yeah, football is obviously another topic for another day, but yeah, adding the VCA kids to our football club would push us up to 4A football. We're not a 4A football program. My coach did say if Chisholm came with VCA for football, he would be more than willing to do that. But Travis and I haven't even talked about football. You know, swimming and soccer were the 2 sports we discussed about looking at those, adding swimming and evaluating what to do with soccer to, save a little bit off the budget. So,
Can you put associated costs with that, what it's gonna cost either district?
and associated costs for,
what we're doing.
yeah, I can do that with Alex. We have our budget and then what
That's what
Chisholm.
people are gonna ask for.
Well, so I won't know, like, maybe I'll just use this because I never talked to the Chisholm board in person. The whole soccer talk was, we were in a budget crunch, we were looking for ways to save money, and in my department, cutting a program doesn't save money. I mean, it saves 1/3 of a teacher's salary, so that doesn't make sense. But if I could run soccer cheaper, because they pay their coaches less based on their contract, they own their busing, so transportation should be less, and then field rental, which is the third, it's not the driving, deciding factor. That's why I looked at the Chisholm maybe taking the lead on soccer, because if I have a $30,000 operating expense for soccer and I can save $8,000, $5,000, I mean, that's the percentage I can work with. $30,000 to run boys soccer, so it's not a huge expense, but if I can save a percentage, that's, every dollar helps at this point, is where I was, my head was at. So it was no nefarious reason, there was no, I don't like soccer, I don't wanna run soccer, none of that's true. It was, let's save every dime and penny I can, so that was where that, so yeah, I can do that. I'm actually working with Carrie McDonald and Alex next week on our budget, so.
So can I ask, we've got a whole bunch of cooperative agreements with VCA.
Yep.
Right? And when I read the State High School League Bylaw 104, It talks that students enrolled in schools established for a special need serving one entire school district may engage in league activities in the secondary school which provides service in the attendance area of the student's residence if eligibility, blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe because we have more than 200 students, forget it. I was gonna just ask why we need the co-op agreements, because I don't think we had a co-op agreement with Assumption, but
We're the continuation school for Assumption, because when they end at 7th grade, where do they go? Well, they come to us. So that's why there's not a cooperative needed. But with ECA, they got a K through 12 program offering, so they have to pay high school league dues, become a member, and then enter that.
And there's public versus private schools.
Yeah, it's the same thing we dealt with. If there's a homeschool family outside the Hibbing school district, and they wanted to come, I had a kid want to run cross country for me. They had to actually establish themselves with the high school league as a dues paying member and then enroll with us or pay that, and then we would have to form a cooperative agreement with them, whereas a homeschool kid in our district is just entirely open to come to us.
I just have one question, I'm sorry. You mentioned that you tried to work with Chisholm on the soccer program to try to offset some costs. What happened?
Well, they went through change. Mr. Aldrich and I met with Mr. Morrison and Mr. Baki, and I think, there wasn't much information. That was just exploratory. That was the other thing. It was never meant to be brought to a board vote yet. We were exploring, we had that conversation, because it's got to start somewhere. I'd say, finding out they don't have a soccer field to use right now, I was even leery to say, well, what are we doing here? You guys don't have a field. I've got a soccer Hibbing family right here that they don't want that flip to happen because, Chisholm's just not equipped right now. That's not to say, as we said, 3 years down the road, maybe it looks different and that could be an option. So that's where, and then when Mr. Morrison resigned, because we had that meeting and had no inkling that they were gonna go through the leadership change they did, obviously we had a pause because they got bigger fish to fry right now. And it was never intended for this fall either, all right? And then I think they were somewhat open to discussing swimming. I know my swim coach and the boys swim coach have talked over there. But again, fall is 3 weeks away. We're not gonna do anything for this school year for fall, but that's where that is. And again, we kind of hit pause because their admin team is going to look drastically different. They don't have an admin team right now. So it's kind of bigger fish than sports right now.
And Director Hibbing, soccer, I think, for whatever reason, came out of that meeting as the hot topic, but we probably spent the least time talking about soccer.
Yeah.
And we really were talking more about swimming at the time. We're looking at the RAT and programs and numbers, and again, that class-wise, that doesn't harm us, correct, the swimming? We've looked at that too, but soccer was not the whole conversation. There was other
That's
activities.
initially why we wanted to talk, but then we're like, hey, swimming coaches our swim coach has approached us about co-oping, trying to, bolster swimming in the Iron Range, because both of our numbers have been decreasing throughout, many years now, so that's where that was, so.
We had an opportunity there too, I think, we have a swimming coach that has indicated that he might be looking to work towards retirement.
Yeah.
And, Chisholm has a young coach, I think that, could step up and take that role, and it's also a little bit selfish in that way too, just trying to find coaches, because we struggle, and swimming would be a tough one also to fill.
Not to take up any more time, because I know there's a lot of individuals here looking for an answer on what we're gonna do. So at our next meeting, will this be on the agenda so that we can give it our yes or no, or what we're gonna do?
Can we get together with Mr. Baki and come up with something?
He's nodded and said, yeah, I mean, is that just him and I, or do we need that
Well,
collaborative committee, I guess?
I'm telling you, for me, for my vote, it has to be more future oriented, not just these one-offs, and what it looks like for academics. And I can tell you where I am willing to support the ongoing sports collaboration, giving 1 year notice to be retracted if we take the first step towards something more broad that positively affects academics. Because I believe just like students need athletic opportunities, they need academic. And I want to say this, well, Chisholm is in the room too. You know what? Our students, our 11th and 12th graders, they already go to school together because they're not in 25% are not in either of our school buildings, and they get along just fine where they're at. And the other thing is, we have Blue Jacket Academy, right? How many kids, I don't know, my question is, how many kids does VCA have in their upper grades? Because they can enroll in our Blue Jacket Academy and declare Hibbing ISD 701 is their home school instead of PSEO. And they could be eligible without a cooperative agreement. And they could still sit and do their online education at VCA.
Okay, this,
Sorry, we gotta go.
Good luck.
Today, we're
But
picking
I
a
would-
new
I would say we need
superintendent,
to do
so
a
hold
collaboration
your horses.
meeting.
this will be on the
The boards need
next
to have
agenda.
a collaboration
And,
meeting.
and I think to Director McLaughlin,
Today.
if that's the path, that's bigger than Mr. Lockett and I.
Right, just start with you two and come up with something. This is going way too far in the wrong direction.
Director Egan, do you want it to be limited to the sports conversation?
Pardon me?
To start with, do you want it to be limited to the sports conversation between the two of them? Or do you want it to be more broad?
I just want to, I mean, I'm not in a position to talk consolidation, unless
Right.
that'd be bigger than I mean, Travis and I can talk about consolidation of buildings, but that's, no one's going to the activity or activities director to make that plan. I mean, unless I'm misinformed.
If I could, Mr. Chair, I think the sports focus, like we had talked about, if, Mr. Baki had a great idea, I thought, of, let's look at a 3-year plan for soccer. Like, how do we get there? What does it look like? And that, I think that's within your scope, right? Yours and James's scope. Like Mr. Raha just said, they're interviewing for a superintendent today. I mean, do we, as a board, do we wait till that person's in place and I can reach out and have a conversation and then get boards together? I do agree. I think it's committees or boards or full boards that should be having those conversations, probably not just athletic directors or just
But
the new superintendent and me. I mean, probably more people should be involved in that conversation, so.
One step at a time, I think, get this out first, and
Right.
use that as a stepping stone to further talks in the very near future.
Yep, and then I would just ask for input then, because Travis and I can come up with something, but if it's not what you guys have in mind, so maybe we look at having.
So-
Yep.
Okay, good meeting. Before I adjourn, Mr. Baki, I'd like to thank you, especially the baby, for being so well behaved in here, and we'll get through this whole thing. With that again, meeting is adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Without objection, the meeting is adjourned, and thank everybody again for being here. Good conversation.